Are you ready for a great adventure? Today, on The World is Yours, we're heading to Ljubljana, Slovenia. Where? Soon, you'll know why this is a place to remember. We'll check out the old town, explore a majestic castle, and try some very tasty sausages. Then, we're off to the historical city of Boston, where we'll walk the Freedom Trail, wander around the farmers market, and visit one of the most famous baseball stadiums in the world. And we wrap up our adventure in the Maldives. There, we'll explore the capital, Malé, and try extreme water sports. Ready? Let's go! The world is waiting, and the world is yours. Ever heard of Ljubljana? How about Slovenia? Well, Ljubljana is the capital of Slovenia, a mountainous country in Central Europe. Though it's not as well known as other countries like France, Italy, or Germany, Slovenia is actually also part of the European Union, which is a union of 28 countries from Europe. Ljubljana is famous for its beauty. It's considered one of Europe's greenest and most livable capital cities. In fact, in 2016, Ljubljana won the honorable Green Capital of Europe title from the European Commission. And if you just look at it, you can instantly see why. In downtown Ljubljana, there are restrictions on cars in order to make the city more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. If you take a stroll along the beautiful banks of the Ljubljanica River, you'll notice the effect these restrictions have. It's so peaceful, you don't even feel like you're in a city at all. Our first destination in this eye-catching city is the Old Town. It's the most popular tourist destination in all of Slovenia. In fact, over 1 million people visit it every year. The architecture in the Old Town is in Baroque style, characterized by its dramatic use of detail. There are also many well-preserved medieval buildings. They don't call it the Old Town for nothing. There are 3 main squares in the Old Town: Mestni Trg, which means City Square, Gornji Trg, which means Upper Square, and Stari Trg, which means Old Square. At Mestni Trg, you can see the famous Roba fountain, decorated with 3 river gods representing the 3 rivers in the area. Stari Trg is the southernmost square and considered the heart of the Old Town. The atmosphere in Ljubljana's Old Town is relaxed, and the locals are friendly and helpful. The city is even more beautiful at night when it's illuminated by the gorgeous lights on the buildings. The Old Town is famous for its array of stunning historical bridges, the most famous one being the Dragon Bridge. It dates all the way back to the turn of the 20th century. And well, you can guess how it got its name. Look at those 4 bronze dragons. They're so lifelike. The bridge was completed in the year 1901. And the dragons are there to match the city's coat of arms. Ljubljana is an astonishing place, but you don't have to take our word for it. Take a walking tour of the city. Here in Ljubljana, there are free tours given by licensed tour guides every day of the year, no matter the weather, and even on holidays. They'll tell you everything you want to know about local history, architecture, trivia, and culture. They'll take you to the famous Shoemaker's Bridge, the National Library, Presserin Square, Congress Square, and many other stops. And of course, there's the castle. The Ljubljana Castle is not included in the tour, but let's make a quick pit stop and check it out. There are actually several castles in Ljubljana, but this one is definitely the biggest and most visited one. It was built in the 15th century, and to this day, tourists and locals alike enjoy exploring it. It's a 10-minute walk up the hill towards the castle. Or, if you want to rest your feet, you can take the funicular, which is a compartment on a track, like a train car. Just kick back and enjoy the beautiful ride up. The viewing tower, built in 1848, offers breathtaking views of the city, including the nearby Sava River and the Kamnik Alps in the background. The purpose of the tower was for guards to keep watch against invaders and fires, and light up the cannons to warn the citizens if they saw anything coming. we can't visit a castle without unraveling the history of who lived there long ago. The castle was built 800 to 900 years ago, and it was home to the Margraves. Margraves were the defenders of the border provinces in the kingdom. This was a hereditary title, which means it wasn't a job you could apply for. You had to be born a Margrave. Well, we've had a great time in town. Now let's hit the road to another favorite spot. Lake Bled is a scenic lake resort area about 35 miles away from Ljubljana. The lake itself is most famous for having an island in the middle with a church built on top of it. Near Lake Bled sits the town of Bled, and in the town, on the north shore of the lake, there's a beautiful castle called, you guessed it, Bled Castle. Lake Bled is famous for not only its scenery, but also because it has been the site of the World Rowing Championships 4 times. The church at the center of the island was built in the 17th century. The church has a 171-foot tall tower and a Baroque staircase of 99 stone steps. If we get lucky, we might even see a wedding in the church. Actually, it's a local tradition for the groom to carry the bride up those 99 steps, ring the bell inside the church, and make a wish. Isn't that cool? Speaking of tradition, there's a traditional Slovenian meal we just have to try while we're here. If there's one thing Slovenia is known for, it's their sausages. And man, are they flavorful! Slovenian sausages are often served with polenta, a delicious boiled cornmeal dish. The sausage itself is made of pork and garlic, with a bit of salt and pepper. Hope you're hungry, because you're in for a real treat. The flavor is similar to Polish sausages, and it has many names. The Korniska sausage, Kreiner sausage, Kreiner Wurst. You can even try its cheesy cousin, the Casey Kreiner. Well, now that our bellies are full, let's keep things rolling. To Boston we go! But first, let's test your world knowledge. Which of these tasty snacks is named after a neighborhood in Boston? A. Ginger snap cookies. B. Jelly beans. C. Graham crackers. Or D. Fig Newtons. The answer coming up when we return to The World Is Yours. Welcome back. Let's find out the answer to our question. Which of these tasty snacks is named after a neighborhood in Boston? A. Ginger snap cookies. B. Jelly beans. C. Graham crackers. Or D. Fig Newtons. If you said D. Fig Newtons, you're right. That's right. The Newton part of the Fig Newton, a fig-filled cookie, comes from a suburb in Boston called Newton, Massachusetts. These snacks were originally manufactured as a way to get people to eat more fruits and help them have better digestion. Welcome to Boston, one of the most historical cities in the United States. I'm sure you've heard of it before. Boston is the capital of Massachusetts. It covers 48 square miles of land. And this city alone has a population of nearly 700,000. And it's one of the oldest cities in the United States. Boston was founded by Puritans in the year 1630. The Puritans were a group of settlers who came over from England in order to establish a new community where they could practice their religion more freely. Later, Boston played a huge part in the American Revolution, when the United States split off from England and became an independent country. Even after the Revolution, Boston continued to be an important center for culture, education, and innovation. The first public park was opened in 1634, and the first subway system was built here in 1897. This city was all about trailblazing into the future. First up on our agenda is the historical Freedom Trail. The Freedom Trail is a 2.5-mile route that takes you through 16 different historical sites related to the American Revolution. You'll see museums, places where important meetings occurred, graves of famous people, and churches. We won't have time to make every stop, but we'll hit some highlights. These actors dressed in historical 18th century costumes will lead us to our first stop, the Boston Common. Remember how I said Boston was home to the first public park? Well, this is it. The Boston Common is the park that was established in the year 1634 by Puritan colonists who all chipped in to purchase the land together. It got its name because the area was considered common land, where the people's livestock were allowed to graze. There was even a common shepherd who tended to everyone's animals for a small fee. Another highlight of the Freedom Trail is the Massachusetts State House, completed in 1798. This is where the state representatives and the governor come to discuss various issues. Look at that stunning golden dome. It was actually originally made of wood, then covered in copper, and then finally covered again, this time with 23-karat gold. However, during World War II, it was painted gray in order to avoid it becoming an obvious bomb target. Now, it's back to gold. All right, let's keep on walking. There's the King's Chapel, the Benjamin Franklin statue, and here's the Old Corner Bookstore. The Old Corner Bookstore is famous for being the first commercial building in all of Boston. It was built in 1718, and originally it was an apothecary, which is an old word for pharmacy. In the middle of the 1880s, this building was at the very center of the American book publishing industry. Many of the famous authors of the day could be seen coming in and out of this place. We're lucky it's still here to admire. Let's make one more stop along the Freedom Trail, at Paul Revere's house. There's a very famous poem called Paul Revere's Ride that tells the American Revolution story of a man named Paul Revere, who, in 1775, saw the British invading and jumped onto his horse in order to go warn the people of Boston about the attack. As a result, the Americans were ready for the British when they arrived. Revere was a real person, the son of a French immigrant, but he's become almost a sort of folk legend. Boston is associated with many all-American classics, including one all-time favorite, baseball. Welcome to Fenway Park, home of the Boston Red Sox Major League Baseball team. Fenway Park is one of the oldest baseball stadiums still being used today. Having celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2012, the stadium has a history of hosting massive crowds and dramatic games. The stadium houses over 170,000 baseball artifacts to see, and over 150,000 photos. See if you can spot any of the Red Sox legends, like Ted Williams, or even Babe Ruth. The ballpark is also known for many quirks, like its famous red seat in the Sea of Green. Section 42, row 37, seat 21 marks the spot where a home run landed that was hit by Hall of Famer Ted Williams. If you don't know much about the Boston Red Sox, well, this is your chance to learn. Here you can get an in-depth look at this storied franchise and much more cool information about the team and their home field. It's been a fascinating tour through Boston. Now, we're headed somewhere a bit more tropical, the Maldives. But first, let's test your world knowledge. The capital of the Maldives is Male, but what does the word Male mean? Is it A, City of the Princess, B, King's Island, C, Queen's Ocean, or D, Duchess Beach? The answer coming up when we return to The World Is Yours. Welcome back to the show. Let's find out the answer to our question. The capital of the Maldives is Male. But what does the word Male mean? Is it A, City of the Princess, B, King's Island, C, Queen's Ocean, or D, Duchess Beach? If you said B, King's Island, you're right. Welcome to Maldives, a tropical paradise. The Maldives is a chain of 26 atolls, or ring-shaped islands made of coral, located in the Indian Ocean. It's considered to be part of South Asia. The Maldives is one of the world's most geographically dispersed countries, spanning 115 square miles, but also the smallest Asian country in terms of both population, almost 430,000 people, and landmass. The primary religion of the Maldives is Islam, which means you'll be able to see some spectacularly designed mosques while you're here. The Maldives was under control of the British from the mid-16th century to the year 1887. We'll be spending our time in the capital, Malé. Just look around. This place is tiny, but super packed. Do you like seafood? I sure hope so, because our first stop in Malé is the famous fish market. The market is located right next to the harbor, which makes sense. It also makes this the perfect place to watch fishermen coming straight to the market with whatever they've caught during the day. As you look around, you'll notice there aren't a lot of native Maldivian women around here. Like many other Muslim countries, the culture of the Maldives sometimes encourages a separation of genders in public spaces. However, it's not usual to see female tourists wandering around the fish market. Let's head over to another great market in town, the produce market. Check out all these colorful little stalls. Talk about the flavor of the islands. Here, you can see local Maldivans from every one of the islands selling their produce. From homegrown coconuts and bananas, yams and nuts, to imported goods from other places. It's a feast for the senses, and a chance to slow down for a minute from the pace of the city. On that note, let's jump to some other islands for some real relaxation. The island of Coradu is one of the largest resort islands in the Maldives. Yes, I said resort island. That means the whole island is open to us. There are tons of restaurants, sports fields, golf courses, spas, and pools. There's also the Ma'afushivaru Hotel on the island of South Ari Atoll. This hotel is surrounded by a lagoon where you can spot all sorts of sea life, like crabs, reef sharks, and even whale sharks and dolphins. And at night, you can catch a huge laser show lighting up the sky. Up next, we'll be hitting the water. Get ready. But first, let's test your world knowledge. Which of these types of boats consists of two different parts, joined by a frame in the middle? A yacht. B, a catamaran. C, a schooner. Or D, a riverboat. The answer coming up when we return to The World is Yours. Welcome back. Let's find out the answer to our question. Which of these types of boats consists of two different parts, joined by a frame in the middle? A yacht. B, a catamaran. C, a schooner. Or D, a riverboat. If you guess B, a catamaran, you're right. A catamaran is a boat that's made up of two parts and joined by a frame. Their design is what makes them difficult to tip over, because they're based on geometry rather than weight. But they were originally nothing more than two logs connected by a wooden platform. In other words, a raft. That same design was used as the prototype for future catamarans, including motor catamarans and ferries. Did you know that the Maldivian Islands are considered to be one of the best places to practice water sports in the whole world? There are so many sports to choose from kayaking to diving, catamaran sailing to kite surfing. I don't even know where to begin. So far, we've hung out on the island of Malé. Let's swim over to the tiny island of Todu. If you've got love for the water, you'll definitely have a blast here. From snorkeling to boat tours, it'll be tough to head back to dry land. Of course, all of the islands have access to water sports equipment and instructors, so you can't go wrong. The possibilities here are endless. Let's head on over to Serene Ocean Maldives. They have guides who can take us through all the awesome activities. Shall we rent a canoe or kayak? We'll glide across the water and give our arms a workout that we'll be feeling for days. Or we can go diving instead. If we stick to the surface, we'll see the pristine ocean and cloudless sky. If we go under the surface, we'll encounter manta rays, turtles, tropical fish in every color, and sharks. Don't worry though, the guides will make sure we're safe. We won't become shark food today, I promise. What about kite surfing? What a rush! Kite surfing, also known as kiteboarding, is an adventure water sport where you pull yourself around by holding on to a large, steerable kite. The kite is controlled through lines connected to your harness, just like a parachute. The only difference is that your feet are connected to a board, so you can skim across the surface of the water. Let's make some waves! Well, that brings us to the end of our adventure for today. What a great one it's been! We started in Ljubljana, Slovenia, where we explored the old city, a towering castle, and ate the tastiest sausages ever. We walked the Freedom Trail in Boston, and took in some baseball at the legendary Fenway Park. And we discovered the tropical paradise of the Maldives, skimming the waters on the power of a kite. It was a lot of fun exploring these unforgettable places. There are many more adventures ahead. Until next time, the world is waiting and the world is yours.